The Baking Bark, A Tale of a Dog's Dream, brought to you by Storytime ESL. Chapter 2, The Bakery Discovery. The next morning, Barkley awoke with an extra spring in its step. The memories of yesterday's baking adventure danced in its mind, filling it with anticipation for what the new day might bring. With a wag of its tail, Barkley set off for Mrs. Paws Bakery, eager to continue its culinary journey. As Barkley approached the bakery, it noticed something peculiar. A crowd had gathered outside, murmuring excitedly amongst themselves. Curious, Barkley pushed its way through the crowd and peered inside the bakery window. To Barkley's dismay, the usually bustling bakery was empty. Flour dusted the countertops, but there was no sign of Mrs. Paws or the delicious treats that usually adorned the display case. A sense of unease crept over Barkley as it wondered what could have happened. Just then, Barkley spotted a small piece of paper taped to the door. With trembling paws, it approached and read the words scrawled in Mrs. Paws' familiar handwriting. Closed for the day due to unforeseen circumstances. Apologies for any inconvenience. Barkley's heart sank. What could have happened to Mrs. Paws? Was she okay? Determined to find out, Barkley set off in search of answers. Throughout the day, Barkley sniffed and searched, following every lead in the hopes of uncovering the truth. It asked neighbors, checked nearby shops, and even ventured into the surrounding woods, but there was no sign of Mrs. Paws. As the sun began to set and Barkley's energy waned, a glimmer of hope appeared in the distance. Through the fading light, Barkley spotted a familiar figure approaching. Mrs. Paws. With a bark of relief, Barkley bounded towards her, tail wagging furiously. Mrs. Paws smiled warmly and knelt down to greet her furry friend. "Hello, Barkley," she said, her voice tinged with exhaustion. "I'm sorry for disappearing without a word. I had a bit of a mishap in the kitchen and needed some time to set things right." Barkley listened intently as Mrs. Paws explained how a sudden oven malfunction had caused chaos in the bakery, forcing her to close temporarily while she made repairs. Despite the setback, Mrs. Paws assured Barkley that everything would soon be back to normal. Relieved to see Mrs. Paws safe and sound, Barkley offered to help in any way it could. With a grateful smile, Mrs. Paws accepted Barkley's offer, grateful for the loyal friend by her side. As they walked back to the bakery together, Barkley couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Though the day had been filled with uncertainty and worry, Barkley had proven that true friendship knows no bounds, and that sometimes the greatest adventures are the ones that lead us back home.